Hey guys, Jay here with Word of Advice TV, and in today's video I'll be showing you how to replace the heating element on a Samsung dryer. Even though this is a Samsung, I'm going to be using a Whirlpool part because for a while there, Samsung, Whirlpool, and a few other models were using the same element for all those dryers, so this one fits quite a few different dryers. And by the way, this is actually my in-law's dryer, and even though the heating element burnt out, my dad-in-law actually hot-wired it together to make it work until I can replace it. If you're interested to see how he did that, I'll be showing you that in a little bit. As usual, the first thing we need to do is turn the power off before we take anything apart. Well, that's not normal. I'm gonna have to screw that down so that doesn't keep happening to them. The top panel comes off first, so let's just scoot it out a little bit. And once you have the two screws in the back taken out, you can then go ahead and pop the top panel off. The next screws are behind the door. Next, to get the control panel off, you need to take out 3 screws up on top. If you want to completely take the control panel off, you would need to unplug this plug. But for most repairs that is not needed, so I simply set it on top of the dryer. And just 4 more screws and we can take this whole front panel off. There's 2 little tabs on either side that need to be pressed down. This one looks like it's already caved in, but the one on the other side is a little popped out, so I'll just press it down and pull the front panel off. Up on top, we have the plug from the door switch, and this one does need to come out. It can be really stuck on there, so just keep wiggling it and pulling it out until it comes out. Dad-in-law was already here, so he did all the hard work. The second time around, it comes out a lot easier. And on the bottom right is where we have our heating element. In order to take it out, these 3 screws need to go. Next, we need to take out this bracket that is holding the heating assembly up. To do this, we simply lift the heating element up a little bit and pull this out. And that's it. We finally got to our heating element. You just need to pull it straight out. Okay, maybe it's not as easy as I made it sound. You have to swivel it like this, and then pull it straight out. Here's the part that we're going to be replacing. And in order to get to the element, we need to take this housing, the assembly, apart. I'll show you what I mean after I take all these screws out. And before we pry this apart, there's one last thing that I need to do. I need to pull the wires off from the heating element. Usually a flathead screwdriver works the best for this. You just kind of pry it up and wiggle it. And then there's this little tab that is folded in, which prevents this assembly from coming apart. We need to unfold this so that we can actually take it apart. I actually forgot about these little tabs over here too. On the bottom of the terminals, there's these little metal tabs that stick out. They prevent me from taking these element prongs out. So I'm gonna have to flatten these out as well. I'm walking on a dangerous path here. I really should be wearing gloves because this sheet metal, it can slice your hand open real quick. So if you're doing this without gloves like me, make sure you're doing this extra careful. If you accidentally swipe your hand on the sheet metal somewhere, it'll cut you right open. And as you can see, I still can't take that one out. And when I get tired of monkeying around with it, I simply just hammer down on it. And if we look closely right over here, this is the spot where the heating element burnt out. And as you can see, it was actually very easy to put this back together. My father-in-law simply twisted this wire together, and that's all it took to get this element working again. But of course, this is only a temporary fix, because when you patch it up like that, that changes the resistance of the element, and it's gonna burn out again pretty quickly. It's always good to double check if the new element is the same as the old one, and if you need some help ordering the right part for your appliance, I do have a video where I go over that, how to find and order the correct parts. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the new one in the same exact way the old one was in here. We're gonna slide these terminals into this plug, or into the socket, I should say. And those little metal tabs on the bottom we're going to want to twist the new ones as well so that they're in there securely. Give it a good tug to make sure it doesn't slide out of there easily. And it doesn't, so we're good to proceed. Before you put the cover back on the element, make sure that none of these wires are touching each other. So right here, see how close it is? That's not good. I'm gonna go ahead and bend that up slightly so it's further away. And just make sure that nothing is touching any metal or any wires are touching each other. Otherwise, your new element will burn out pretty quickly. I like to put the first 3 screws in loosely. I don't tighten them down all the way. Because, as you can see on this side, none of the holes are lining up. So, I gotta make sure they're all lining up before I go ahead and tighten everything down. And when you're putting this burner tube inside, see these 2 notches right here? They need to go on top and match with the little tabs in the back. And when you're putting this bracket back in, it also has tabs on the bottom. These need to slide in into the floor of the dryer. 1 spot right here, and then there's 2 in the back right there. Well, and the rest of the dryer just comes back together the same way you took it apart. And that is how you replace the element on a dryer. By the way, for those of you that are interested, I forgot to mention in the beginning what the symptoms were. And mom-in-law reports that the dryer was working fine, everything was spinning, everything looked like it's working, but it wasn't heating. So whenever the cycle was over, she would take the clothes out and they were still damp. So she would have to run it 3 times before the clothes actually dried out. And that's because the heat wasn't coming on at all. The element was burnt out, but the dryer still ran. So that's what was happening with her dryer. And if you have any other dryer questions, please let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. And if you're still here and not in the comment section below, let me tell you a story from a while back. One day, my boss runs into the office and he's like, "Jay, where is Thomas? It seems like whenever I need to tell him to do something, I can't find him anywhere. I have to literally go look for him." And since this wasn't the first time, I finally told him. It's pretty simple, actually. It's because good workers are hard to find.